Hey, everybody, welcome to It's Emma's World. I have been off the air for a little while now. As you know, I've had surgeries and then I came back and had COVID, and I've been dealing with this for like over 2 months. And I have missed you guys so much. And now I am here to bring to you another great guest. And actually, I've met him in Tampa at the Little Mermaid premiere at the Tampa Theatre in 2018. I got to meet the whole cast. I got to hang out with everybody. Everybody there was so amazing. It has been a night that I will never forget. And now we get to have him back. This time we have Armando Gutierrez. He is a producer and actor. As I said, he was the producer and actor in The Little Mermaid. He also came out with a movie called Anastasia, which is on the Paramount Network. And he also has been in A New York Christmas Wedding and Walt Disney's A Walt Before Mickey, another one I've seen. I've actually seen them all. They're wonderful movies. So I am really excited to have him here to talk to you about his brand new movie called Bezos, The Beginning. And if anybody knows about Jeff Bezos, he started off in basically a little room in his house, and now he's one of the most prominent, I think he's probably the richest man in the world. And he did it just by believing in himself and trying something new. We're going to learn all about that and more. But first, welcome to the show, Armando. How you doing?
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
Oh, thank you for coming back. I have missed you guys. As I said last time, hanging out with you guys was such an incredible experience to do. To see you guys on the stage talking to us about the movie, bringing it to life, which is what I like to do in my interviews here. And then not only that, getting to sit there and watch it with you was probably the most intense thing I've ever got to see. And I did buy the movie. I have that one. I still have my VIP tag over here that everybody signed. So I love that. That's definitely a piece that I will never, ever forget. So,
That one was definitely a lot of fun to make. I mean,
oh, that was
especially, you know,
so much.
I mean, very ambitious to make a live action Little Mermaid movie, but it was a lot of fun, and I think the whole cast, really appreciates that movie, and I know the audience has, because it's had a very good life.
And you picked a great place to have it. Tampa Theatre is incredible.
Yep.
The gargoyles, the history behind it, the smells. I mean, it's a palace. And I think that made the whole night even more special, especially you know what? You got to give props to those penguins. Those penguins are a nice touch. They wouldn't
It's
let me touch it though. They wouldn't let me play with them. I'm so upset.
That's
But
funny. Yeah, this aquarium. There's a lot. The thing is, it's funny who wants to come out and support film when you do these things, and like with the Bezos movie, you have entrepreneurial clubs, you have business clubs, you've got people like that are like, oh my gosh, we heard about it. We want to screen the movie for our members, and we have a list of business questions to ask you, just like things like that. I'm like what it goes. Well, in '94, what would Bezos have done? And I'm like, I don't know. We should ask him. Like,
WWBD. I like that.
seriously. And no, you got to think, because he's so successful, there's a lot of people around the world that are studying a lot of the things he does, and why he makes certain decisions, where he's growing, because if he decides to get into a business, it changes the industry. So but no, let's talk. I'm excited to hear
Yeah.
what you want to ask.
Well, first of all, let's learn about you and your profession, because obviously you had a dream to make movies. You are artistic, you act in them, you produce them, so you've been on both sides of the camera. How did you get into all of this to start out with?
I was the kid in grade school that would, have the camera, tell my friends, "Hey, all right, we're gonna recreate this kid scene of, a cop is gonna knock on the door, and you're gonna do this," and then, just I was always like kind of, exploring the idea of making movies, and I had it in the back of my head to do one as like a bucket list thing. And when the first one came about, to actually produce and be in it, it was Walt Before Mickey. That was a very unique story, because my mom had given me a book. There was a story of Walt Disney, and that book ends up, being the book by Timothy Suzanne and Diane Disney. And I was shocked. And at the same time, the co-writer of Walt Before Mickey, Arthur Bernstein, was exploring doing a movie on Walt Disney. So everything was just like very, in a spooky way lining up. And we told ourselves, if we can get the rights to that book, we'll chase down a movie. And we knew we were in the right shoes when in the first bit of casting, one of the first people that walked in the door was John Heder, and who plays Napoleon Dynamite. And John walked in and he said, "Oh my God, I need to be in this movie. I respect what Walt Disney did. Walt Disney's completely influenced my life." And we had so many great people that were coming out of the woodworks to be a part of this movie and help us make it. And then obviously Netflix bought it, which made it shoot to the stars quickly. And yeah, it was that project was blessed. I mean, it was amazing how that was. So I consider I'm meant to be making movies that have a purpose, that have a message. I think that's the ones that I'm gravitating towards. That Walt Before Mickey showed you the struggle and showed you that anything is possible and you should be dreaming big. Bezos shows you that if you want to be an entrepreneur, you got to get going regardless of if you know enough about the industry or not, because Jeff Bezos did not know about the industry, or let alone e-commerce or the internet. He studied and created. So that's what motivates me to do more movies, just finding unique topics that will inspire you to do something, you know.
Now, what type of schooling did you go for, if you did any?
My acting training, I did a program during summer in London at the Guildhall.
Okay.
And that was the extent. And I had a private tutor in New York who gave me a whole nother layer of understanding of what it is to be an actor. And there's method acting, there's the Meisner technique, there's a lot of ways you can get to the character. When I was not acting, you think, oh, you just read the lines and create an emotion. Oh, no, it's way more layers than that. So those were the two ways that I've been able to find characters through the acting coach, who she still helps me to today. And the Guildhall training was epic. I mean, the people there are chasing trophies.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at being the best of the best. So I was just honored to be around. Some of them are big on Broadway, big in London theater, and I'm just like, my God, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
But
Now,
that was my acting training.
Now, when it comes to production, a lot of people may not understand what that is. So, I mean, we have a director. A lot of people don't know that position. We don't know too much behind the camera unless you're really into movies. You just enjoy the work that all came together to get the finished product. What does a producer do?
A producer's kind of like the circus leader, the general contractor, the one that has to identify the department heads, manage the department heads, then also manage the creatives, the writer, director, actors, and figure out how. Actually, a good example, somebody once basically you're the captain of a ship and there's constantly a hole somewhere in the ship and you need to figure out where the hole is and plug it. And that is the life of a producer. And this is coming from another producer who's done a lot of big movies. And he told me that. I was like, it all makes sense now. It's like, wardrobe's not ready. Okay, we need to solve a problem in wardrobe. The lighting is an issue. The lenses are not there. The actor's not ready. I mean, there's 2,000 things that can happen. And the producer's job is to solve that problem, ideally before it happens.
That is ideally the way, yes. And it's not at the last minute when it's like, oh, now we got to postpone things. That's never fun because that's expensive. People don't realize how much a slight little thing like a wardrobe malfunction or could have cost that day's work that just cost you guys a lot of money. And now you have to put out more money to reschedule it and everything else.
Yeah,
So
that, and then everything pushes and affects the other people involved. Because let's say you're acting in a movie and you're available Wednesday, and that's it. And great, I get through your scene, but now I need you to say Thursday because I missed something. Then that pushes the next person over, the next person, and before you know it, the whole production's delayed weeks. And then it's a logistics scheduling game. So that's the real bit. I go backwards. I try, like, if it's an actor that is a big actor, like a Shirley MacLaine, um, I go backwards. I say, when are you available? You tell me the dates, rather than me telling you what I want. Because if her schedule's already open, then it's more likely that they'll want to do the role. But if they've got to move stuff or cancel family vacations or events, it's not going to happen. So I've reverse engineered. Like, I remember when we were casting Anastasia, Joe Coy was in the movie, and Joe Coy's in the middle of, like, you know a huge selling out arenas for his comedy tour. And um and I said, when do you have off days? Just let's keep it simple, and we'll make those scenes work on the days you're off. And we were able to get Joe Coy. He did amazing, and he's a phenomenal actor. He has a movie he did last year called Easter Sunday. Um, so that's the life of a producer, just figuring out where they can make things work.
I like that. And that, so basically you're the lifeblood behind the camera, and people can respect that when they see a perfectly well done movie that they get to enjoy with their family.
The
Now,
fact that it was completed, people don't understand. Like, it really takes an army to get a film completed,
yeah.
let alone distributed, let alone try and make it profitable. And there but it's impossible to make a movie without an army of people that believe in what you're doing.
Now, somebody coming into the movie industry, they want to be an actor, an actress, maybe television, maybe movies. What is one thing that they should know before they get into this that might shock them a little bit enough to say, maybe this isn't right for me, but that's only because they didn't quite understand it. And it's not necessarily them. It's just something you got to learn to grow with in order to be successful.
So if you want to be an actor, I mean, you obviously, there's the traditional way of doing it. You get an agent, you get a manager, you start going to auditions, you get one callback out of 100. It's a long game, and it's also, you're chasing the perfect role for you. Because I might work for one role, but I'm not going to work for another, just like you would. I mean, we all have our perfect roles, and then you got to deal with the politics of the studio or whoever's making the movie. Um, and then the distributors, and then all the other variables. Um, but my advice that I tell actors that want to get into it is, first of all, film some of your own stuff in the beginning. Like, do a couple of scenes with your friends, your classmates, get those out, put them on YouTube, put them somewhere. Have kind of that be your demo, so that when you go to a casting director or you go to an agent, it's a little bit different than just saying, "Oh yeah, here's my resume. I want to be an actor." Versus, no, here's some of my work. I can perform. Take a look at it. If you still like me, great. The other thing is, I would network. I'd go to the film festivals. I'd go to the film fairs and meet as many aspiring artists as you can. Because I've met a lot of people that way, and people that were non-traditional, that came from different industries, that wanted to make movies. And if you get lucky and you happen to line up with somebody who's got a project that you make sense for, obviously they're gonna be like, "Hey, do you want to audition for this? Because I think you can work for it." Because look, everybody thinks you just wake up and you get an agent at a big studio and that's it. You're going to be in every Disney movie. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't. And now, I mean, you have a lot of ways. I mean, Eliane, again, is an actress we work with a lot, who's super successful. She uses TikTok as a vehicle to show people what she could do as an actress. And the videos are very powerful as they circulate. And what's happening is producers and directors see her, and then see her work and be like, oh, she could definitely play a cop. Let's take a look at that. And she's getting a lot of casting opportunities through the content she creates regularly.
That's pretty cool. So never be afraid to put yourself out there.
No, I mean, actors should be quite the opposite. Like, and find your character. Find, like every actor has their character, has something that they can do better than anybody else. And the problem is finding it.
That is true. But that's the fun part, is discovering that.
Yep. Like, look at the last thing I'll say, the example that everyone tells me, like Paul Hogan, best Crocodile Dundee. You can never find a better Crocodile Dundee. It's not going to happen.
No, you will not. No, you will not, for sure.
So, well, there you go.
We got to go to a quick commercial break. But when we come back, we're going to be talking about this movie, Bezos, which I cannot wait to get into. And we're going to learn about this movie, his life, and how he brought it to life. So don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back in about 2 minutes, people. And when we come back, we're going to have some fun. So stay tuned. All right, guys, we are back. And as I promised, we have Armando here, and he's going to be talking to us about Bezos, The Beginning. This is a movie that probably, I don't think anybody can mention the name Bezos and not know who that is. But just about maybe 20 years ago, that wasn't the case. So his story of how he started to where he is now, literally taking a rocket into space, is pretty incredible. And I truly believe that we can learn a lot from this movie to implement into our own lives. We got to stop always looking down upon people that are successful and learn how they did that. And I think this movie is going to do that. So let's start off with the movie. Give me a little bit of a background about the movie, and how did you come up with this idea?
Well, the script was written by Allison Burnett and R.V. Romero, and they created a beautiful world that showed Bezos in the early '90s. Allison Burnett is super successful. He wrote Underworld, Autumn in New York, like some amazing movies. So, they were able to identify a moment in the history of Amazon where they didn't have money for office supplies. Like they were literally just scraping by to get this thing off online. And what intrigued me was the early years of Jeff Bezos and his relationship with his wife and his family, because he was perfectly content. He was working on Wall Street for D.E. Shaw, super successful firm, and he didn't have to go out and do anything. He was chilling. He had his big salary. He was fine. But there was something, he wanted to start a business, and when he came across the data that showed the internet was growing at 2,300% a year, he just couldn't put the book down. He knew, nothing grows that huge, and the fact that most people didn't even understand it made it more intriguing to him. So that story is covered in this movie, and you see how he went from just working a Wall Street job to starting what would become Amazon, which in the origins wasn't even called Amazon.
Yeah. It's really funny because when I was in school, I remember kind of getting on the internet and doing things simply like going to Sears, and it had a couple little links, and you'd click a link and it would show you like a little dress or a little thing that you could buy at electronics. And it was very rudimentary. And Yahoo at one point was nothing but text links, hyperlinks all the way down. So back in that day, which Amazon wasn't too far from that era, maybe 5 to 6 years, if you would have told me that the internet was going to be the place to replace all of the brick and mortar stores, and it was going to be led by Amazon, which was, again, rudimentary back then, it was basically for books, I probably would have said you're crazy. But yet here we are. And that's what I love about Bezos, is that he took an idea that was extremely risky. You got to admit it had to be risky, even though there was a lot of growth. And put together what we have is one of the most finely tuned operating shipping and e-commerce places in the world.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
Well, and he also, he invented a lot of things. He had to create, a website that was customer friendly, that was easy to use, that showed people how to have easy returns. He really knew he had to put the customer first to be able to change, what you're used to. Because back then we were all used to saying, oh, let's drive over to whatever department store and buy it. To the point when now you can go out and order it and it's at your house within hours sometimes. So he really had to fundamentally change how people did commerce. So I think that the movie doesn't go that far into the story. It ends in the mid '90s, but it definitely shows how the early struggles affected who he became and what Amazon would become.
It's no surprise what he did overcome. And there's obstacles. And so even putting this story together, you had the same obstacles. You had to start with nothing and build it into this movie. So what were some of the challenges you had to overcome in order to even get this into the potential of having actors actually perform in it?
Well, I mean, luckily we have a great relationship with a director that is successful in the biopic space. So Quale has done, he did Walt Before Mickey. He did the Jose Feliciano documentary, the Vanilla Ice. So he knows that space very well, and he grabbed the script, and he had some tweaks, of course, but I think overall the bones were there, and then just became a casting decision of who's the perfect Mackenzie, who's the perfect Shell, like. So then the process began.
Who played your stars?
So D.E. Shaw was played by Marcus Lemonis, he was the host of The Prophet and The Renovator. Mike Bezos is played by Emilio Stefan. Mackenzie Bezos is played by Alexandra Mitchell. Shel Kafin is played by Nick Friedman. So on and so forth. We had, very great casting. We were very lucky. So
Now, it shouldn't be that hard, you would think. But how hard was it to find some of these old computers that he actually built the stuff with?
that was a George Goodrich decision. I mean, George is a great production designer. Him and Mark, they know where to go for all this stuff. Like somehow, some way, they're like, "Yep, I got 1994 computers, no problem." Like, where do you even go? So
Those things were incredible. I mean, they had 64 megabytes of RAM, and it was considered sweet. And now we have more in our phone than those computers ever would have had. And they weighed a ton. Oh my God, did they weigh a ton? You didn't want to move that from too many places. Where you put it, that's where it's at.
no, and now we're so spoiled because everything's so light and like. I mean, I still remember the giant gateways like that were like a tower.
Yes.
So back then, and they had the servers, in the garage. I mean, it wasn't like now, okay, you farm everything out. But yeah, it was a really different time. But when you watch the movie, you'll hopefully be transplanted back to that era.
Now, from this movie, you probably learned a lot of other things from Jeff Bezos. What outside of the commerce did he bring to the internet and our lives, and our daily lives?
I mean, present day, he's involved in everything. I mean, Whole Foods, Amazon Web Services, Ring, the alarm. I mean, just a countless amount of things. But I think at that moment, he was discovering what it was going to be. I don't think he had a grandmaster plan. I think he wanted to sell books. He was just figuring out the easiest way to do it, fastest way to get the books from point A to point B. Go from there, and then he kept adding products, and then eventually he just came up with the idea of having the general public be sellers. So you and me can be a seller, which is very attractive because then you're not having to front the cost for inventory that just sits in warehouses. And then he's making a fee. The seller makes a fee. The customer still gets their product fast. So I think he kept evolving. I don't think he had the master plan back then. I think he he started with what he thought was a strong business idea, which obviously it was, and just kept adding little modules to it.
Now, when you read the movie script and stuff, did you know this much about Jeff Bezos, and how much did you learn from the minute that you saw the script and before the script? And what was one of the things that impressed you the most about him?
I did not know this much, especially after we decided to proceed with the movie. I was researching him, seeing every single bit of video I could find about him, uh, things he wrote, just analyzing every possible thing of that era of the '90s. And then once I kind of figured out his character from the '90s, then I went, 5 years further, and just to see how he kept evolving. Um, and then we all felt like we were ready to make a movie.
Now, looking back at this movie, when you saw it in the script, and I usually ask this for every movie, it probably evolves a little bit, of course. You originally have your set of what do you think it's going to be to the end. How do you think it turned out, and how much did it evolve before then? Is it exactly the way that you had saw it at the script? Is it better than the original script that you thought? How did it come out for you?
It evolved because the actors made it come to life. Like, I mean, the first example that comes to my head is Anne Herberger, that plays Jeff Bezos' mom, and Emilio, that plays his dad. There's a scene that Jeff and Mackenzie are asking them for money to invest in the business, and it read how it read, but how Anne and Emilio played it made the scene. Like, you felt it, like it was like, okay, they're asking, it's kind of awkward that they're asking us for money, we have to help them. Oh my god, I'm gonna drink this because I'm so nervous. Like, like all the little things that they did as actors made the scene. Like, when you watch it, you'll laugh because it's and that's one of the scenes that every audience that has seen it has laughed, because it's like, can you imagine that scene? Oh my god, like, it'd be really awkward if I lost that money during next holiday, um but no, that was definitely we knew that everything was falling into place that day. So,
What's your favorite scene in the movie?
oh, the scenes with I mean, there's two. I like the flashback scenes of Jeff Bezos getting life lessons from his grandfather. I think those are they're beautiful moments. Um, the scene that I'm in, definitely, the launch of the website. I think that's an emotional, high energy, stressful, um, and it's part of history. It's what would, it's the origin story of what became one of the biggest companies in history.
It's like the day when MTV went live for the first time, It
Yeah.
changed television forever, music forever. This changed the internet forever.
Yep. And that channel, I remember that channel made me like start liking other singers, and like, oh my god, I've never heard of this singer, but I love her music. Like, and it just opened up a whole nother world. And then the MTV Music Awards and everything that kept adding on to what that was.
Was there anything that happened behind the scenes that really saved the day that sticks out in your mind?
Um, Save the day. Yeah, this movie was pretty smooth. It's
That's good.
um, we had great people. You had super professional people playing every role. So, um, yeah, like, we were nervous about who's going to play D.E. Shaw, because it's an important role. He's the first person that told Bezos that it was a great idea, just not for him. And that was a hard role to cast. That was a difficult one. And then when the opportunity of Marcus Lemonis playing it came along, it was instant thumbs up across the board. Oh my god, he's going to nail this role. It's going to be incredibly perfect. And when you watch it, he did such a good job. It's like, holy cow. Um,
So what do you hope people take away from this movie?
I hope they get inspired. I really want them to get inspired to do something, and chase something in their career, whether it's in their current job or something new, and not to, like, create excuses in your head. because I think we all do that sometimes, and really it he was able to start something that he was not prepared to do, but he was motivated to do, and he had the discipline to keep at it. And he was smart. He figured out, he's a problem solver, um, but he was not like designed to run an e-commerce business. He learned. He evolved into being what he became.
Probably one of the most important questions of this entire interview is how can people see this movie?
You can see it on Amazon and Apple TV, on iTunes, and Vudu, a bunch of other places, and it'll be playing on the airline soon, and so on and so forth. But it's out there.
I gotta ask, did Jeff Bezos actually say anything about this movie?
Not as of yet. I mean, it's out there, so I'm sure he hopefully he's seen it. I mean, it's it's out there. It's on Amazon, so it's like you would think somebody saw it out there.
I'd love to hear his take on it. I mean, that's his life, and I'd like to see how well you guys captured that. So it'd be nice to. I hope he says something about it because I would love to read it.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But thank you again for your time and everything you do. I'm a big fan of yours, and keep doing what you do. And I'm here anytime you want to talk movies.
Absolutely. And last question, how can people follow you? Because I'm sure you got more stuff coming up that you would love for people to see.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. You can just look for me, Armando, 3 underscores Gutierrez. I got to work on that username, and yeah, I try and post my story, whatever I'm working on, and I love to follow what you're up to.
Perfect. Well, Armando, this has been so great. I'm sad it's taken us almost 5 years to get back together and talk again, but I am glad you're here. I know COVID really put a kibosh into everything for everybody. The only movie I have not seen yet is this one, and of course the Anastasia, which I really would love to go see, and I'm going to definitely do that probably tonight. So thank you again for coming on here. Great guest. Love hanging out with you, and we will see you again next time.
Thank you, everybody, and I appreciate your time. Have a great day.
All right, guys. That is all we have for today. So we are going to close it out here. Please join us again on itsemmasworld.com. You can find me at my website, Emma Lynn Dowd, or any of my social media at Emma Lynn Dowd. And of course, you can also find us on social media for this radio show, which is It's Emma's World. So until then, guys, have a great day. Stay safe, and we'll see you again next time. Stay creative. Bye.
Like, OMG, you were on TV and junk.